Hello, viewers. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. It's another moment again to share some beautiful insight. It's another moment again to share some beautiful content. Let's have some moment together. Let's have some conversations. Yeah, let's come around. Yeah, let's come around to share one or two knowledge, one or two informations. As the only platform, the only way to greatness is still the right information. The only way to greatness is the right information deployed rightly. And so this platform is to share some right informations. Majority of people who are great are people who got the right knowledge and then they deploy them. Let's come around. Yeah. Let's spend some couple of time together here. Yeah. Hey, people. Let's share some nice times together. Let's share some nice time together. You know, this platform is basically to share knowledge that can be used to transform your life. So it's about sharing the right knowledge that you can deploy to be great. It's to share knowledge that can transform you to become a superstar. To become a great being. It is a platform where we share knowledge through which people can be transformed to become who they want to become. Because you can only become who you want to become through right knowledge, through right information. And this platform is basically to dispense knowledge that can transform your life. A lot of knowledge are out there, a lot of informations are out there, but most of them cannot transform. And oftentimes, what makes superstar is not just one thing. It is layers of knowledge that is deployed rightly. The layers of knowledge deployed rightly is what makes the great. The superstars are not born from the blues. They are not different from you. They were born just the same way you came here. But they got some certain knowledge and they deploy them rightly to become who they are. And so, this is the reason why this platform is created, to share right knowledge that can be deployed rightly. I see Sode join, yeah. Mehmet Boran, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to the platform. You're welcome. I can see Nasa Adeola. Yes, you are all welcome to the platform. You're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome. I can see Ibrahim Ka. Yes, you guys are welcome. You are welcome. So it is a time to share some right knowledge, some right informations. Because it is not about working, but about working rightly. It is not about striving, but striving rightly. And the only thing that can help us strive rightly is to have right knowledge. As I often say, it is only with the right key that a door can be opened. doors can only be opened with right key. No matter how we gather keys, if the right one is not among of the key, the door will not be open. So let's come around and then have some basic interactions. I'm sure most of us have seen the topic of the video. It speaks to the danger of over-planning. The danger of over-planning. Yeah. Because the concept of planning has been said over and over to so many of us, and it has been transformed to a mantra. Planning has been transformed to a mantra that at any point we've got idea or we have a concept, it is always about I'm planning, I'm planning, I'm planning, I'm planning. It is always about I'm planning here, I'm planning there, I'm still planning, I'm trying to do this, I'm asking some right questions, I'm still trying to put my thoughts together, I'm still trying to put my words together. But no matter how you plan, you can still not get it right until you get to the execution phase. No matter how fantastic your planning is, your execution will still not go as the plan. If you spend all the years planning, when you get to execution phase, you will begin to see more realities and begin to adjust most of your planning. And oftentimes, almost everything you did while planning, you will repeat them during execution phase. Because you begin to see the realities in execution phase. In construction, the first thing they do is to put up the sketches. To do the map, the sketches, and the planning. But by the time they get to execution phase, they begin to see more realities. And then they do something that is called as built on site, because what they will be doing on site will be different from what they have actually put on the paper. Majority of it. So then they will begin to rebuild the planning. The sketches they've done. They begin to adjust as they go on site. And the same thing with every idea until you get to execution phase. Some realities will not be spot on. Some realities will not be discovered until you get to execution stage. And that is why I said generals are not made in the planning room, but execution rooms. Because the people who make generals do not go to planning room. There is always an expose, an information about a general concerning his activities in the execution room before he will be invited, before the people who makes the generals try to visit the planning room. So there must be an information about you on your executions, on your activities, before the people who make generals visit your planning room. So people must have been seeing your works before they consult, before they come close to you. And that is why I said, show me a great strategist, and I will show you a great executor. Because every great strategist comes from great executions. Because as they go to the sites, as they go to the phase of execution, and they are seeing every other part of it, some realities, then they go back to the planning room and then they adjust. So it is about shuttling the planning room and then the execution rooms. Shuttling the execution room and then the planning room. It is not about sitting at the planning room thinking, always thinking and then strategizing without execution. No matter how fantastic you romanticize your idea, you still have to bring it to the execution phase before you discover the reality. And you know, the only place you can find a perfect idea is the planning room. But in the execution stage, you don't find a perfect idea. So your idea is always perfect at the planning room. But when you get to the reality, it is different. Oftentimes, I normally use the concept of the movie industry. When someone have a concept of a movie, and in the planning phase, he has actually spot on the people he's going to use. This one and this one and this one, and the locations and everything. But by the time they get to the execution phase, they begin to see different reality. They begin to discover that this character, this person we want to use for this character is not fit in. That this person I've penned down for these characters is not going to fit in properly into the characters, into the role. I've heard about a movie that they were making in the United States, but when they got to the execution phase, they discovered that they have to go down to Africa to pick a particular characters. But at the planning stage, they did not see that. They did not see the circumstances that would took them down to Africa to go and look for a character. And so they have to travel all over almost Africa before they find the characters that fit in. And that is why you do not have to stay long in the planning room. Get into the execution room and begin to do the work. And I'm not saying you're not going to have some moment of planning before you go in, but do not stay long. Yes, you are going to do feasibility studies to carry out the cost and some other things around your ideas. But most of the time, when you get to execution phase, you're going to discover more. You're going to discover more realities in your execution phase. And one of my quotes is that do not tell me what you can do. Show me what you are doing. Do not tell me what you can do. Show me what you can do, what you are doing. Because a lot of people talk about what they can do, what I can do this, I can do that. But the reality of life is not in what you can do, it is in what you are doing. You know, when you have a kid and you begin to tell the kid, oh, I can do this, I can do that, okay, do this, do that. The kid will just be looking at you like this. He's more interested in what you are doing, not what you say you can do. And the world is not interested in what you can do, but what you are doing. And so most of the time, it is what I can do that happen in the planning room. What is going on in the planning room is what I can do, not what you are doing. And so you've got to be able to marry the execution room and the planning room. You get into the execution and then you are coming back to the planning room, adjust. As you are seeing them in the execution phase, you are coming back to the planning room. So the quality of your planning room depends on the quality of your execution room. I mean, your planning room is beautified by what you have done in your execution rooms. People don't visit your planning room until they have seen you in the execution room. People don't even know you. They are not aware of you until you surface at the execution phase. And as I always say this, that ideas cannot be carried out alone. And the only time you can see support and help is when your idea has moved from planning room to the execution rooms. Just like you are pregnant with a baby, but until you deliver the baby, the people who can support you are not going to come around, because until you go to the delivery room and bring out the baby, if your baby will need support, until you deliver the baby, nobody will support. So many of us are full of babies, ideas, and we're not ready to go to the delivery rooms. Majority of people are waiting out there to support your idea. People are ready to support ideas. Great people are always interested in supporting ideas, but not idea that is still conceived. Not the idea that still remain inside. It is the idea that is giving reality. And so we've got to stop hiding and then still holding our babies, our ideas inside. We've got to bring them to execution phase. And I'm going to tell us one or two things that happen when we stay too much in the planning rooms. At the time you got the idea, not everybody in this planet is always happy when they got an idea. So when you get the idea, the first thing that happens to you is that your dopamine goes up. The hormone that is responsible for happiness goes up, rises up. And so if you are not careful, you begin to enjoy that phase, that happiness phase. And then you keep planning. By the time that dopamine reach a limit, it's going to begin to turn downward spiral. By the time that hormone reach that limit, then it begins to turn downward spiral. And then you begin to get tired of the idea. Because at the point when you're supposed to throw it out, at the point when you're supposed to deploy it, you are still in the planning phase. You are still saying, I want to ask this question, I want to meet the other piece, I want to go to this one, I want to read this particular material about it. I want to check this, I want to check that, I want to tell this person. So when you do this to a particular stage, then you reach the limit and the dopamine begins to go downward spiral. And then you can drop the idea. Yeah, you're going to drop the idea. And the next thing that happens is that oftentimes when you share your idea here and there, most of the people you share the idea with do not have that capacity. Most of them they've not conceived idea and process it. So what you are going to get from most of them is nay. So most of the people you are sharing the idea with, they do not have the capacity. They cannot comprehend. And so what they will begin to tell you is the impossibilities around the ideas. What is likely to happen? What is likely to happen? What is likely to happen? And if you keep listening to them, you will remain in that planning phase. Because once they tell you this, you want to solve it. They tell you the other one, you want to solve it. So, and then the more you keep having all of these impossibilities, the more you keep planning. The more you stay in that planning room. I remember when I was listening to Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, when he was sharing the story about when he got the idea, and then he tried to share the idea with one of his boss in the office. They are all working in the office together, just that he has the higher position. So he has never also conceived a particular idea and processed it to reality. So he then shared the idea with him, and the boss began to, before the naysayer will tell you some no, they will begin to find a way to console you. They will first tell you some certain words that will actually make you feel like, oh, the idea was great, but just let me leave it. So, and his boss was trying to romanticize him, trying to put his head down, try to fool him, try to cajole him to abandon the idea by telling him, oh, he said, the idea is so fantastic. It's great. Oh, what a fantastic idea. But you've got a nice job. So probably you can leave the idea for those people who does not have job. You can see. So he was trying to console him that the idea is fantastic, but you do not need it. It's not going to be greater than what you have now. That the idea is not, the execution of the idea is not going to be greater than the job you are doing now. And that is what is happening to many of us. The job you have now is blocking you from executing your idea. Because you have that insight that the joy, the execution of that your idea is not going to be greater than the job. It's not going to be greater than the work you are doing now. And so his boss was trying to pull him out of the idea. But because he understands that the job of a naysayer is to naysay. But your own job is to say, I'm going to do. Your own job is to say, their own job is to naysay. And so the ball is now in your court to say and execute. And not to go on with the naysayers. Because they are doing their own job. The naysayers are doing their job. So there's no other responsibility of a naysayer than to naysay. But your own responsibility is not to align, it's to go on. I'm not saying you're not going to share your idea, but you've got to look for those people who have the capacity. Some people who are better, or some people who are on your face and also building on the particular ideas. And oftentimes I used to tell people that, see, you are the only one that got the idea. It's because you are the one that has the capacity to execute it. You are the only one who has the map to execute it. So if you show it to other people who does not have that capacity, then they're going to shut it down. They're going to shut it down. And so we stay longer in that planning room when we keep sharing it. And then people begin to tell us, oh, you don't see the possibility of this one. You don't see the possibility of this one. You don't see this possibility. It probably might not work. If you do not put this one in place, probably your location, probably your place, it's going to tell you so many things that will make you always go back to that planning room. You will keep going back to that planning room because they are always spotting on things that will go wrong. And let me tell you, most of those things they are trying to point you to are what you will knock down at the execution stage. Most of the things they are telling you in the planning room, and most of the things you are discovering in the planning rooms are things you will knock out in the execution phase. I've not seen any idea that goes exactly with the planning. There's no idea in the world that goes exactly with the planning room. There are so many modifications that happens in the execution phase. So many modifications, that is to say, you will still be going to that planning room. So why do you need to stay before going to execution phase? The same planning room you will keep visiting. Why do you want to sit down there? You don't have to sit down in the planning room when you're supposed to go to the execution room, and you can visit the planning room as you go by. So you will stay longer in the planning room the more you consult, the more you tell people, especially the people who does not have the capacity, people who have never received idea in their life, or some people who have received the idea but they've never been able to process it. They've never processed any single idea in their life. So the same thing that happened to them is what they will be sharing with you. The same thing they did is what they will share with you. They received their own idea too, but they did not process it. They did not process the idea. So what do you expect them to tell you? What do they have? What is the information they have that they will tell you? And so the next thing is that there is a particular law of universe that says we are one in spirit. It is the law of oneness. So if you stay longer in that planning room, someone else will connect with your idea in another place and then execute the idea. It might be faster than you, and it's going to execute the idea. So the other person might be faster than you and is going to execute the idea. So, and by the time you are ready, your idea is already functioning in the market. By the time you are ready, your idea is already working in the market. Because we are one in spirit. The same idea, you receive idea through your spirit. And so your spirit can connect to another spirit. And the other person will pick it and then he move faster, he run with it. It's going to the same function and then package it, because we process idea through the souls. We receive idea through the spirit, and then we process it through our brain and then our mind. So the only thing that will make it different is the packaging. It's going to wrap it in a different form. It's going to package it in a different form. But it is the same idea with another look. And so by the time you push your own out, then people begin to tell you, oh, we have this product we are using already. We have this one we are using already. And it's doing fine and it's doing great. So why do we need to change the product when we already have, when it's doing what we want? It's already serving the purpose. And that is how your idea will be out of the system. Because they are used to the one in the market already. And it's serving the purpose. So what are you going to tell them to change it? A product that has been known, established products, and then the product that is new. How do you want to convince them that, oh, my own is the best now? You're going to do a lot, You're going to spend a lot to convince people to drop the product they've been using, establish, performing the functions they want, serving the purpose they want. And now you are bringing new products to them. It might work, but you're going to spend a lot. So you're going to spend more than what you're supposed to spend if that idea is single-handedly brought to the market by you. If you are the first person to bring the idea to market, you won't need the publicity you're going to do when another product is already in the market. So the publicity, the packaging, the work you're going to do when another product is not yet in the market, you will do more than that. You will do double of it. When a similar product is already in the market, you will do more. So those are the things that will happen when you stay longer in the planning room. Somebody will carry out the idea. You probably might not even execute the idea. You remain in the planning room thinking, trying to solve this and solve this and solve this. In the academic system, they said that the quality of your thesis, the quality of your project depends on the quality of journal you consulted. But they cautioned to know when to drop consulting, to know when to stop consulting materials and begin to write. And the same thing with planning. You've got to know when to stop the first phase planning and begin to execute. This is the problem with majority of people. To know when to stop the first phase of planning and begin to execute. And begin to execute and begin to push it out. And let me say something here. The reason why we stay longer in the planning room most of the time is because we are looking for a perfect idea to push out. That is the reason why we stay longer in the planning room. We are trying to perfect that idea before we push it out. This is a big problem. And the reality is that there's no big idea, there's no perfect idea. The reality is that there's no perfect idea in the world. That you cannot bring any perfect idea to the market. You've got to understand the reality of improvement and modifications. You've got to embrace the reality of improvement and modifications. If iPhone industry decided to perfect the idea, probably today we will not have iPhone. If iPhone choose to perfect the idea before they bring it to market, we're not going to have iPhone today. But what they've done is that they brought the first one in, and then they keep going to the planning room. What is the next thing? And then they modify, and then they make improvement, and then they brought the next one. If they decide to be like you, that remain in the planning room, we're not going to have iPhone today. Because it is not possible to bring a perfect idea. You can see today, very soon you will see the next iPhone. Very soon you will see the next iPhone. This is the reality of improvement, not perfection. The reality of modification, not perfections. So majority of us are perfectionists. This is the big problem. We keep romanticizing the idea. We want to make it perfect. We want to make it perfect before we bring it to the market. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. And let me tell you today, you are not given the capacity of perfection. You cannot perfect anything. You cannot perfect any idea because you don't have the capacity. And I'm going to tell you the reason why you do not have the capacity for perfection. Because God does not operate in perfection. God is a perfect entity. God is a perfect being, but he does not operate in perfection. And the same way God is a perfect being, the same way you are perfect, but you cannot operate in perfection. Because the person who created you does not operate in perfection. So who is your example? Who is your standard bearer? Who are you copying? Who are you modeling? Who is your prototype? Because your standard bearer is God. And if your standard bearer is God, where do you get your own concept? Where do you get your own standard? If your God, if God is not operating in perfection, why are you operating in that realm? Because it's not going to work. If God is not operating in perfections, and then where do you get your own concept of perfection? Because this is the reason why you can see that God does not operate in perfection is that when God created the heaven and the earth, there was no car. There was no iPhone. There was no phone at all. There was no airplane. So many things were not existing when God created. And then he created and he left. So that is not perfection. And the reason why it did not perfect is that you are coming in. Because if God moved in perfections, you will not be necessary. If God moves in perfections, you and I will not be necessary. You will not be here, I will not be here. Because there won't be a purpose for us. There won't be a function for us. There won't be anything to do for us. If God moves in perfections, he has created this world, he has provided everything that is necessary, we will not be necessary here. But because he knows that you are coming, I am coming, and he knows that when we get here, there will be some certain things to do for us. There must be some certain functions, purpose for us to carry out. And that is why it did not operate in perfection. And if you and everybody here today decide to operate in perfection, the next generation will not have anything to do. If you operate in perfection and you can perfect every idea you have, the next generation will not have anything to do. If everybody on the face of the planet today operate in perfection, the next generation are not needed. They're not necessary. Because they will just be here looking. And that is why there's nothing like perfection. God does not operate in perfections. And that is your standard bearer. No matter how you strive to perfect your idea, it's not going to work out. So stop planning to bring out a perfect idea. Begin to bring it to execution room and begin to keep improving, keep modifying, keep improving, keep modifying. It is about improvement and modifications. The people who came about the idea of cars today, most of them have gone. But the current generation keep modifying, keep improving on it. The idea of Tesla was not by Elon. It's been before now. So many ideas has been before now. But the people that exist now are trying to do modifications. So the capacity given unto you is to receive the idea, give it life, and then do the modification you can do while you exist. Do the improvement you can do while you exist. Because the reality of imperfection is that the next generation again will come and try to see the gaps and then engage. So the purpose of imperfection is for the other generation to have something to engage on. And so when you perfect everything, the next generation will not have anything to do. These are the reality we need to have so that we can keep moving. We can keep moving and stop planning. You are not given the capacity to perfect your idea. And so stop the planning today. Stop the planning of, I want to make it perfect before I bring it to life. Because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You cannot perfect it. No matter how you stay in the planning room, 20 years, 50 years, 30 years, you can still not bring out a perfect idea. What you will bring will still require improvement. What you will bring to the market will still require improvement. And so stop the planning and the planning and the planning. And let me tell you, the reason why you've got to create in this particular universe is that the person who created you and you must do what he did. So you are created and you must create. You are to exhibit the attribute of the person who created you. That is the purpose, the reason why all of us have got to find a way to create. You've got to find a way to give your idea life. Because your standard bearer is the person who created you. And your attributes is what he has. So you have the attribute of creator and you've got to create. And that is why in one of my videos, I called us a co-creator. We are co-creators. All the standard we have is the standard of the creator. And so we are co-creators. And the reason why I decided to keep doing all of this is because there are some distorted information that we have, and until we begin to have the right informations, we won't be able to achieve who we are, what we are supposed to do, who we are supposed to be. The standard bearer is creator. So that is, as we are created, we've got to keep creating. That's our purpose here. We've got to keep creating to make the world a livable place, to make the world a better place. We've got to join the train of creators. We've got to stop the planning and begin to bring our idea to life and begin to create. And as I've said, we do not have the capacity for perfection. So we've got the knowledge and the brain for improvement and modification. That's the only thing we have. And another reason why we stay too long in the planning room is that we are always looking for the big thing. We are always looking for that button that we're going to click and then will help us achieve our idea. That is another thing that always makes us to stay long in the planning room. We are looking for one particular button that will just click and get us to the destination. We focus too much on the destinations. We focus too much on the destination. This is my idea. What is that button that will click that will help me achieve my idea? We lost the reality that every superstar is made through process. We lost the understanding that every superstar, every celebrity, were all made through process. We saw them flying and then we want to fly. We saw them flying and we just want to fly. But the reality is not that. The reality is process. The reality is time. That we cannot just see them flying and begin to fly. Because they did not start flying. They have done so many walls. They have gone through so many phases. They have fell and rise again. So we have this big problem of we have seen the person we want to be. We have seen a superstar. We have seen a champion. We have seen accomplished being, and we just want to accomplish. We have seen an accomplished being. We have seen a champion. We just want to become a champion. It's one of the reasons why we stayed too much in the planning room. It's not done that way. We cannot just be a champion. We have to go through the process. And what does it take is that we have seen something we want to be like. The next thing is to sit down and begin to ask the right questions. What have they done? What has this person that I want to be like, what has he been doing over the period of time? What are the things he has committed himself to become this? It's not possible. We cannot just rise today and become that. We've got to find out the process. We've got to find out what they've done, what they've been doing, what they committed themselves to become that. And the sports point is that if you have built your castle in the sky, in the air, leave it there. You do not have to worry about it. That is like your dream. So if you have find out that castle you want to build and you have placed it in the sky, leave it there. And then come down and begin to do the foundational works. Begin to lay the bricks one after the other, put on the bricks. Go on through the process. We can't just get there. We've got to go through the planning, the process. But the reason why we stay too much planning is we just want to click that button that will get us there. Abu Omar, hello. Bahada, how you doing? How you guys doing? I hope you are getting the gist. So what we are talking about here is about the danger of over-planning. The danger of over-planning. We don't need to stay long in the planning room. No generals is made in the planning rooms. They are the people who have stayed long in the battlefield. They've gone to the battlefield and then come to the planning room, try to draw it, redraw it, and then go to the battlefield and come back and try to modify it and then go to the battlefield. So generals are the people who have stayed longer in the battlefield, not in the planning field. Show me a general, and I will show you someone who have lived longer in the execution rooms. I will show you an executor. Show me a strategist, and I will show you a guy that has lived so many of his life in the execution room. And that is, every strategist is a product of executions. Every general is a product of executions. The more you execute, the stronger you become. The stronger you become. You modify your planning, your materials, through experience, through exposure. And in any field, it is the same thing in any field. You build your document, you build your person, you build your generalisms through your executions. The more you show up, the better you become. The more you show up, the better you become. The longer you stay in the execution room, the better you become. And the more beautiful your planning room becomes. And people can come to your planning room and see your materials and use your materials to run their own life. So champions are not the people who live, sleep, and stay in their planning room. They're the people who sleep most of the time in the execution rooms. That is where they are always in the execution phase. They're just showing up all the time. You know, the reason why they said the successful ones are the people who fail the more is because they're the people who show up the more. Because the more you show up, the more you fail, and then the more you get it better. The more you show up, the more you fail, and then the more you are correcting yourself, and then the more you will get it right. That is the reality. And so we've got to be careful of the concept of failure. Because there's nothing like failure until the end of that project. Failure is the concept that the standard that was set does not, you do not meet the standard that was set. And then you can rework on it. The concept of failure is that the first standard that was set, you did not meet it. And then you can go back to the drawing board, which is your planning room, and try to rework and try to do the rework. So the standard, you have tried, but you could not meet the standard. And then you go back to the planning room. What is it? What did I do wrong? How should I approach it the next time? That is planning. That is what failure. But the way they have projected failure to most of us has then turned us to be, we run away from every idea. Because we do not want to see ourselves as a failure. We do not want people to see us as failure. And I'm sure majority of us know about the concept of the electric bulb, how it came about. The story about Thomas Edison, how he failed almost 1,000 times. And he keeps showing up, and he keeps showing up. That is, we are able to have the idea of electric bulb today because of failures. The reality of electric bulb today was a product of failures. But we need to understand something is that at the end of those failures, we have results. At the end of all the failures, he was able to garner results. He was able to generate results. And so this is what it means. That when you have set out yourself that, oh, in the next 2 years, I will be able to accomplish this. And then by the time you get to that second year, you are not able to accomplish it. But you keep going. And then by the 5th year, you are able to achieve it. But should we call that one failure? No, that is not failure. That is the process. That is what it takes to achieve it. That is not failure. That is process. And that is why I said the only place you can find a perfect idea is in the planning room. Because in the planning room, you will come out with a standard, with a blueprint. I want to go home with this project. The next 5 years, I will finish it. And by the time you get to the 5 years, it's not achieved. Because there are so many things that will come around. There's so many things that will come on the way. There are some ideas, there are some projects that will be affected by government policies. There are some projects that will be affected by climate. So many things will come along the way. But because you do not give up, you will achieve it. Because you decided not to give up, you keep on pushing, you keep on pressing, you will achieve it. But probably you might not achieve it in the 5 years you have set out. Because that is what you got from the planning room. I'm sure many of us have seen projects that from the beginning were said, oh, the next 3 years we'll deliver this project. And by the time you go to the site, by the 3rd year, you discover they've shifted the goalpost. Because that is the reality of life. What you bring out from the planning room will change when you get to execution phase. What you got from your planning room will change when you get to that your execution phase. And that is why the only place you've got to be is at the execution phase. The only place you've got to find yourself is the execution phase. I work in real estate and construction. So many times I will see a lot of clients coming around and say, oh, this project is supposed to be delivered last year. And I will just smile. Yes, it's supposed to be delivered last year according to the planning that we gave. According to the planning room, it's supposed to be delivered 2 years ago. But so many things has happened. Government policies, so many things happened along the way. And that is why we are not able to deliver it last year. And that is the reality. That is the reality that everybody must have. That so many things will happen with planning, with what you have planned. And that is why you've got to get to the execution phase to discover what will happen, because you do not know what will happen. You know, before 2019, some people were planning so many things, and then COVID came. What will happen to the reality? It's going to change. So many things were planning. Oh, by the end of 2019, by 2020, I'm going to do this one. By 2021, I will do this one. And then 2020, COVID came in. And they are not able to achieve it. These are things that can come along the way. But the reality is that remain there. Remain in the execution phase and keep executing. Keep pressing. Keep going further. COVID will go and then you will achieve it. Now you look at it. This is 2025. COVID is gone. So many things has happened after COVID. So many people have achieved their target even more better, more stronger after COVID. Because they decided not to stop. They keep on. They remain in execution phase. The only thing that can help you beautify your planning room is the executions. It's the executions. And I want to ask you a question today. What is that thing that you have been nursing? What is that idea that you have keep romanticizing in the planning room? What is that idea? Some of us have spent 5 years. Some of us have spent 3 years. Some of us have spent 2 years romanticizing our ideas. We give it different package, different color. And we keep going back and forth, saying, I'm planning. Keep asking questions. And yet, we've not been able to see a perfect time to dispense the idea. Because the reality is that there won't be a perfect time to dispense the idea. There won't be a perfect time to dispense that idea. So the perfect time is now. The perfect time is now. Dispense the idea. And let me tell you, once you push the idea to execution phase, you begin to see help. You begin to see support here and there. You begin to see, because I'm telling you, a lot of people love to support ideas. Great people love to support ideas, but not the one that is still inside the owner. Not the one that is still in planning room. Nobody can support the idea that remains in the planning room. Nobody will support idea that remains in the planning room. Because they do not have the time to visit your planning room. The great guys, the champions do not have the time to come to your planning room. They are busy with their own work. They are living in the executions. They are so busy in their own execution phase. They do not have the time to come to your planning room. And the only place they can find you is that on the field. You're going to meet on the field. The only place they will meet you, the only place they will find you is on the field. Because their whole life is fully on the execution. Their whole life is always on the field. And so the only place champions will meet you, great people will meet you, is when you have moved to the execution phase. They don't live in the planning room. And so I think we got the idea, because TikTok is trying to push me out of the live. Live will end in 4 minutes. TikTok is trying to end the conversation, but I'm sure the majority of us got the concept that we do not have to stay long in the planning room. The only place we can find the reality is in the execution phase. And until we move to the execution phase, there won't be any help for us. Until we move to the execution phase, nobody will support us. Nobody will support us. As I've said, that a lot of people want to support the idea, they want to support great ideas, fantastic ideas, but they won't do that until they see us showing up. So we've got to commit ourselves to showing up. We've got to get out of the planning room and begin to execute. TikTok is trying to take me out of because it's about 3 minutes to end the conversation. But I'm sure that a lot of us got what we are trying to say here is that we do not have to stay longer in the planning room, because when we get to the execution phase, we'll still keep planning, because life is about improvement and modifications. And the only place we can find improvement and modification is when we get to the execution phase. When we begin to execute, we begin to see more realities to our ideas. When we begin to execute, we begin to see more reality, more truth. We begin to show up. And that is when we can keep going to the planning room and then come back, go to the planning room and then come back. This is how every reality, every great idea has been executed. This is how great people have achieved greatness. They go to the execution room, then they come back to the planning room. They go to the war front and then come back to the planning, and then they go again. So you keep shuttling the execution and then the planning. It's not that you have to stay in the planning, no. You're not going to stay in the planning. You have to keep shuttling. And as I've said, the quality of your ideas is from the execution. And then the beauty of your planning room is from your execution. So to become a general, you've got to be more on the execution than the planning. This is the reality. This is the idea. Planning room will not give us the reality of our idea. The only thing it will keep giving us is the fantasy. We'll keep and then we will keep pumping our dopamine, to keep pumping our dopamine. And then we'll be happy about the idea. No, I'm about to push my idea out. I'm about to do this. I'm about to do that. But the longer we stay, the longer we're not going to do anything. The more we're not going to achieve anything. Yeah. And the more the naysayer will keep telling us all kind of things. All kind of things. Because their job is to naysay. Their job is to naysay. Their job is to show you the impossibilities. Their job is to show you what you cannot achieve, what is likely to happen when you are executing the project. And so, I'm charging us today to unwrap the idea that we have actually been working with in the planning room. Let's unwrap the idea and push it into the execution phase and begin to execute. Let's unwrap the idea and push it into execution phase and begin to execute. Nothing is fantastic than an idea that is already in the execution phase. Every idea in the planning room is a dead idea. You have to bring it out. You have to bring it out. You have to bring your idea into execution phase. That is the only place it's going to get support. That is the only phase your idea is going to receive support. And I'm sure all of us want to bring our idea to reality. Everybody wants to achieve their idea. Because the true reality of life is when you see your idea flying. We are all the same, all of us. We want to bring idea, then we want to execute the idea, and we want to point the idea and say, that is my idea, that is what I've achieved, that is what I've accomplished. Yes, everybody wants to accomplish. Everybody wants to accomplish. But the reason why we are not yet accomplishing is because we retain our idea in the planning room. We are still romanticizing our ideas in the planning room. And the longer it stays there, the more it's likely to be abandoned. The more it's likely to be abandoned. Because there are so many responsibilities that's likely to come along the way. There's so many responsibilities that is likely to push your idea away, and then you face that other life. A young lady with a powerful idea who was not married but keep planning. Then along the way, got married, kid came in, this one came in, that came in. And the idea is gone. And the idea is gone down the drain. But if he or she is already on the execution phase, the idea will just be part of the responsibility she got. The idea will become part of the responsibility she got. Do we understand that? A young, fantastic, vibrant lady who got idea but keep planning. And then along the line, marriage, so many things came along, and then the idea went down the drain. That is what can happen when you stay too long in the planning room. And the same thing with a young guy who got idea early in life, but keep romanticizing it. Keep romanticizing it, embracing it. We love that that dopamine, that is, we are happy thinking about the idea, but no execution. Because there's no pain in dreaming. There's no pain in dreaming. You're just thinking about it. Oh, I've got this idea, man. In the couple of years, in the couple of times, in the couple of days, I'm going to push it out. There's no pain in planning. That is the reason why we stay longer in planning. We are not carrying, we are not lifting anything. We are not pushing anything. We are not doing anything. We are not pressing the pedal. It's just planning, thinking, dreaming. But we do not need that. We do not need. We become more stronger, more better, the more we begin to take on the responsibility. The more we begin to push on the execution phase, we become more stronger because our experience grows more bigger. Our experience grows more bigger when we stay in the execution phase than the planning room. And that is why they said experience is not about age, it's about how long you stay in the execution room. It's about how you are able to execute, how you are able to navigate, how you are able to carry out your idea. That is what it calls for. So a guy in his 35 can be more experienced than a man in his 50. That is it. Because he carried out more, he lived more in the execution phase than the planning. And so many people, even in their 80s, 90s, they're still living in their planning room. And so they do not have the recommended experience. And so a young guy in his 30, in his 40 can scold a man in his 90. A man in his 90 who lives longer, who lives more in the planning room. So experience is not age, it is how you live where you live longer. Majority of people are living more in the planning room. And seriously, it is not the place we're supposed to stay. It is a place to visit. The planning room is a place to visit, not a place to stay. You dashed in and you dashed out. You dashed in and you dashed out. So on this platform, what I do here is to help us get out of that our comfort zone. We need to get out of the planning room. Because the people who are doing greater are not better than us. The people who are doing fantastically out there, they are not better than us. They are not better than us at all. I'm sure majority of us have seen so many people who are out there, but comparing them to us, we are better multiple folks. But they are out there. They are out there, we are not there. They are executing, we are not executing. They are living the reality, we are not living it. We remain in the dream. We keep dreaming, we keep thinking. They keep showing up, we keep dreaming. They keep showing up, we keep dreaming. And then they keep winning, we keep losing. That is it. It is the opposite. The more you show up, the more you win, and then the more you remain in the planning room, then the more you keep losing. Yeah, it's about actions. It's about carrying the lift. It's really about this. Life is not in the planning room, it's in the execution room. And so, as I live today, I want to leave us with the reality that generals are not made in the planning rooms. They are made in the execution room. The people who make generals first visit the execution rooms before they come to the planning room. And it is what they will see in the execution room that will bring them to the planning room. Generals are not made in the planning room. They are made in the execution room. And every great strategist, every people who knows how to manipulate, who knows how to play their ways around the market, are the people who have stayed longer in the market. The people who knows how to navigate the universe are the people who have stayed longer in the system, not the people who stay longer in the planning room. Yeah. And so I'm challenging us that idea we have been nursing all this while, that idea that we have been romanticizing, we love that idea so much that we cannot push it out. We are not ready to push it out. We are not ready to push it out. We love the idea so much. But I'm not saying we should not love the idea, but let's release it. Let's bring it to life. Only place people will help us is when we get to the execution phase, when we bring the idea to life. So that idea you've been nursing all this while, bring it out, push it out, and then begin to do the modifications, the improvement, or the best.